Welcome back to the Leadership Forum, a space where corporate leaders share insightful takes on the human side of ingenuity. I'm Saquib Vali, explorer. Say hi to the future. But speak a bit to the stories of the people whose lives you have touched as you deliver your mission at All You Are.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I think I'm actually very passionate about this because I think for a lot of us, we live in a time where, for most of us in this part of the world, who are probably listening to this podcast, we are very comfortable, right? Like we're not like fighting for our basic needs. And so, our tolerance to things being uncomfortable can be very low, right? We like things the way we like them. And sometimes it takes going through, and I would never wish this upon someone, but sometimes it takes going through something very difficult to realize how resilient you are and how strong you are and how resourceful you are. And it's the imagining of how you would handle it that is so scary. But when you're in it, you find the depths of those resources. And I believe that all humans have that. And so when I'm working with clients or when I am, working with women, or even in my corporate workshops, my message is always that you are so much stronger than you think, right? And I don't believe that we are meant to resource that strength only when we're going through difficult times. I believe that we are meant to access that in order to create and to innovate and to do new things and to go out of our comfort zones and to take risks. And that's the kind of message that I'm trying to share, is not so much about like how to get through tough times, but also how to put yourself in situations where you can access that resilience in order to grow.
Resilience is something that can differentiate some folks who are successful in our industry or in the sales function in general, and those that are not. And I have actively sought out roles and opportunities that would help me exercise that resilience muscle over time. And none required it more, I would say, than my experience on the Gillette business. You would know P&G acquired Gillette 2005, 2006. And Gillette at that time was really one of the crown jewels in, the crown of P&G. It was a huge business, multi-billion dollar in North America, accounted for almost 2/3 of the category or more in terms of the actual sales. And almost all of the sales growth and innovation was coming from Gillette in that category at that time. Skip from there to 2020, so call it 15 years later, there were all of these new entrants into the category in North America. Think Dollar Shave Club, Harry's, that really eroded Gillette's leading share and caused the category, through retail to pretty significantly decline. And so when I showed up at Gillette in 2020, the category had not grown in very many years, so retailers weren't happy with us. The financial performance was not what the company was expecting, out of a brand that size. And then number three, the organization, had been through several, years of, not delivering results on sales, profit, share, etc. And it really required a sort of a reset on what are the things that we're here to do to deliver for the company, for ourselves, and for our customers. And one of the things that Gillette did very well, and I played a very minor role in this, was to take the jobs to be done marketing framework and thinking, how are consumers using our products and how can we better design them for those usage, and started to innovate across the portfolio. And the first thing that Gillette did, and this was slightly before I got there, was they launched a beard brand for the first time in its 100+ year history. That was blasphemy, for Gillette to do advertising with any type of facial hair, right? Never mind for the 50% of men in North America at the time that had some sort of facial hair. That had some success. And they launched an intimate shaving brand for women. That had some success. And then over time, those little wins started to build into something greater that allowed that organization to start growing the category again, etc. But what was interesting to me as I was watching it happen was sometimes you become a winning organization before you feel like you're part of a winning organization. And I felt like my role in a lot of those early days, was reminding people of the success that we had and encourage them to lead from the front in terms of the success that the brands were having, and walk with a little bit of swagger as we were going into retailers to present the innovation plans, etc. So it was a wonderful journey, and certainly a significant exercise in resilience for that organization.
This is so heartening to hear, because there's a certain fascination I've got with one of the insights that you just spoke about, which is it takes time before an organization, as you start winning, for organization to start feeling that you're winning, right? It takes time to catch up to that. Um, I think the other way is also true. When you start running into problems, it takes a while before the organization wakes up to, oh my God, there's something wrong, and therefore we need to fix and address it. Are there other examples that you can think of from your time in service that we would say, you know what, those are the things that we would call the heartbeat of Canada, where we would love to get behind them somehow? So all of us as a country, as a nation, galvanize towards something more positive than the differences we might have.
That's a great question. And certainly sport is something that helps bring us together, as do arts, as does culture, as does embracing difference and diversity, and building a united Canada, and becoming part of Canada, but also having pride and connection with your background and your own culture and heritage, not being afraid of that. I think that really is what makes Canada special. But I'll focus on one thing, Saquib, that I think is critical in terms of that heartbeat that is in decline right now, and that is volunteerism.
Mm.
I used to recognize volunteers in my riding with community service medallions and awards, because I found that it was about 2% of the population that did the volunteering that the 98% got to benefit from, turning the town into the community, to use your parlance from earlier. What are we seeing? We're seeing a decline of membership in Rotary clubs and Lions clubs and legions. We're seeing declining attendance in churches and mosques and synagogues, temples, all these sorts of traditional, what you might call, ways to bring people together. There was a great book written, 15 years ago or so now, by Dr. Putnam, called Bowling Alone. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but the decline of bowling leagues in the US was just another way that Americans, in his study, were having less opportunity to interact. So if you don't get to interact with other people, even if there's not too much difference in terms of cultural or demographic backgrounds, we're becoming more and more isolated. Social media has made that even worse. So right now, if somebody wants to support a cause, you'll see them tweet about it, or they'll put something on their Facebook, but they're not actually rolling up their sleeves and going down to the food bank, or going down to the shelter, or going down to the area of their town that's been flooded and they need help with sandbags and these sorts of things. There are still people doing it, but how do we encourage more of that community volunteerism, that sort of embracing the public good? I don't have all the solutions, but I've written a little bit about it. There's been initiatives called Big Society in the UK where they tried to rekindle it. There are some veteran organizations and church groups and others that are trying to do more with the group or their congregation or their comrades, other than just get together for coffee at the Tim Hortons. So I really think this is an area that we need that heartbeat. We need to turn active citizens from somebody that just displays the Canadian flag during the Olympics into someone that volunteers a bit of time at their Terry Fox run or at the food bank. If we don't do this, we're suddenly just going to be a number of people that just happen to live close together, not in communities. So I think it's why I'm going to continue to comment on this. And I think your heartbeat approach is a great way to sort of encourage people to be more active citizens.
So in practical terms, Penelope, how do you bring these instincts to the fore, let's say when you're working with an organization?
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because I think there are some people in our society who are very comfortable with instinct. When you think about artists, when you think about musicians, when you think about painters, playwrights, these are people who I think have an uncanny ability almost to tap into this collective understanding and almost experience, download, dream, see, or hear that greater something and be able to express it. But for many of us, we are so busy in the doing of the everyday that we don't have the ability or the time or even the trust to be able to do that. One of our clients called our methodology systematized intuition, and I love that. And I think about it that when we are using our process, we use the language of revealing very, very, very intentionally. The people in the room are not creating the map that they see. We are actually collectively revealing the map to what it is the culture, the marketplace wants from you, what one of our clients called a permission space that you have. And the methodology is issue agnostic. So we have used it for repositioning major brands, for understanding how to attract and retain top talent, done it for individuals on what is my path to fulfillment? Is there a map to fulfillment that I could follow for my life? So it really doesn't matter. It's like an MRI machine. It doesn't matter what you put under it. It is going to reveal. I like to think of these as sort of the eternal truths that surround us that we may not necessarily have the ability to tap into on our own. So as a facilitator of the process, I'm creating nothing. I'm telling you nothing. I am your guide to helping you and the folks in the room reveal that which is. I like to use the expression of, I'm almost like a doula. For people who may not be familiar with the term doula, a doula comes to be with you when you're going to have a child. And the doula is with the family, preparing the family, the environment, the mother-to-be for the birth of this baby. And the doula will be with you through the birth, and then will stay with you to make sure that you're comfortable and you are ready to look after this baby on your own. But the doula never forgets this is not his or her child. And so it is when we're using our process. This is your map. This is not mine. I have no input to what this is. I have nothing that I have to say about what it should be, what it will be. I am just the guide, the doula, to help you reveal these truths that may or may not have been something that you were aware of before. These core insights from which then you can build strategy or innovation or whatever else that you would like to do.
Ingenuity, in my mind, is fundamental to delivering really new ways of working and new ways of operating. In my mind, it leads to breakthrough business solutions that will drive value. One of the things I take seriously in my role as a leader of leaders is to create the conditions of success for my team, not only my direct, but the broader team. One of the things I've noted in the last few years is just the fact that people don't have thinking time. Our teams tend to be very focused. We're very lean, and we're often spending our time delivering the now, if you will, and not necessarily building the future all the time. And so I believe the best ideas are actually out with the team members. And I've told my teams that wherever I've been. And I think unlocking thinking time is a way to draw those ideas to the surface. Clearly, if people don't have time to think or to build and be creative and, through ingenuity, we're not going to see the ideas. And so one of the things I've done and we've done in the organization is set up time and dedicated time to thinking and to development. And we've done this purposefully because we've noted that people didn't have time, or wouldn't always prioritize it consistently across the organization. So we've carved out thinking time for folks on Mondays and Fridays, typically the days we work remotely. And we've also set up quarterly development days to allow people to learn and grow and ensure they're spending the time in developing themselves. These have been actually a positive step in our organization at building our future through new ideas. And that's helped us develop new improved ways of working, in some cases, new innovation and product ideas, and just other ways we can partner with our stakeholders. As it relates to your question on not working, there have been times we've tried to apply, call it this ideation working when we were in a point where we needed prompt, decisive action. And I can tell you that didn't always work. Ideation, creativity in those circumstances sometimes hindered what was needed at the time. We've tried sort of a fast ideation or speed dating in those cases to try and come up with quick solutions. And I will tell you, in that case, it didn't work. But as I said a moment ago, giving people the freedom to think and draw forward and bring forward ideas have led us to new solutions.
It's kind of counterintuitive, but then when you think about it, it makes a ton of sense, which is it's not during crisis that you necessarily want different ideas. At that point in time, you want execution of an idea that people might have had time to think about during peacetime. Right.
Well said. I think that's well said.
What's the next chapter?
Well, I think the next chapter for me is what my grandfather told me when I was about 8 years old. And he used to say this, he was a farmer in Saquib Vali, Pakistan. And he would always say this word that we never understood at that time. He would always say, brawn to brain. And we never understood. He would say that, look, as you get older, the body is going to get weaker, but the mind's going to get stronger. So I want you to prepare for that day that your mind will be more powerful than your body. So your body's expand. Then at that point, you're able to pass the knowledge, and you will not have to work as hard, but you'll work smart. And I'm getting to that part where I see these brilliant leaders that are coming in. The next generation is coming in. So I want to guide them, and and even set the goals loftier goals. So sort of not necessarily how big an organization we can build, but how we can connect the organization more with the heart of the customers. I believe as long as you have a good place in the heart of your customers in your community, you will always do well. The brand will always thrive. So I think it's more that wisdom part now, to sit and pass that wisdom, educate the next generation, support and facilitate. And I just had a meeting with my daughter. We were talking about that what's that next generation of leaders coming in? What is my role in helping those leaders? And a lot of times is to prevent them from making the mistakes that I've made. And then to kind of, inspire them on that, hey, think a little bigger, think a little loftier. So that's what I'm doing right now, where I'm not out making product anymore. I'm not out selling stores anymore. I'm kind of thinking about where the brand can go. But to do that, I do need to learn where the world is right now. And then when you get with this next generation of a team, that's when you see the brand, you see that next stage of the growth of the brand and everything. So it's more passing of the baton. I mean, I'm at that point where I'm actually passing the baton right now. And that in itself involves a lot.
Okay, so help me with this, because we're all trying to figure this out, right? I'm with you. You can't coach curiosity, you cannot coach passion. How do you look for it?
I look for it in past examples, right? I look for it. So, if somebody has, been in a, in a volunteer role, or done a summer job, or done another job where you can tell that they are excited and interested. So I look for it in that way. I look for it in the questions that they ask. Are they asking me the rote questions, or are they genuinely interested in asking me something that I hadn't thought of? And I think those are areas that I look for in any interview and in any interaction. Are they genuinely interested in me, or in the role that I'm looking for, or in the company that I'm searching for? Or does it feel a little bit mechanical or inauthentic? And I think that's, for me, what comes through. And as much as you can't coach it, I think you can create environments where people can thrive, where people can demonstrate it, and where people can test their way into it. I mean, similar to you, Saquib, I'm sure at the dinner table, there's lots of discussion and debate with your kids about different things. And for me, that's an environment where you can encourage your kids to be curious, whether it's, talking about different political parties and different points of view, and how do you look at things from different sides, or whether it's to stand firm on their perspective. I mean, all those things are ways to create an environment where those skills can be nurtured.
For me, the Camino has become very much like the announcement at the beginning of every flight, which is, in case of decompression, masks will fall from the ceiling. Make sure you put one on yourself before you try to help anyone else. And for me, at least once a year, the Camino has been that mask, that oxygen, that recentering, which gives me the energy to do what I want to do and need to do in all of the roles that I play in life. And just encourage people to think about it. And if it calls you, if it intrigues you at all, it's eminently doable. And it's an incredible gift to yourself. So, buen camino in life.
That's absolutely fantastic. And the only thought I'll leave for all our listeners is, in preparing for this conversation, what I did was I also went to bat and said, okay, is there another religion that has it? And believe it or not, every single religion, so no matter what faith you belong to, has an experience of this nature. Whether that be Judaism, whether that be Islam, whether that be Christianity, whether that be Hinduism, Buddhism, it doesn't matter. And so clearly, it's an experience that defines a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So while we had this conversation with Rocco on his specific experience on a certain pilgrimage, I think the wider thought I would leave out for our listeners is, I think the one that you mentioned, which is life just makes us build all these cloaks and barnacles that we put on ourselves, and some time and space that we take for ourselves and take care of ourselves helps us chip away at that so we can be the human being that we've always wanted to be. So with that, thanks a lot, Rocco.